Adapted from archaic translation by Robert Chalmers. JATAKA number. Sakuna JATAKA. You inhabitants of air. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about a brother whose cell was burnt down. Tradition says that a brother, having been given a theme for meditation by the master, went from Jetavana monastery to the land of Kosala and there dwelling in a forest hard by a border village. Now, during the very first month of his living there, his cell was burnt down. This he reported to the villagers, saying, "My cell has been burnt down. I live in discomfort." Said they, "The land is suffering from drought just now. We'll see to it when we have irrigated the fields." When the irrigation was over, they said they must do their sowing first. When the sowing was done, they had the fences to put up. When the fences were put up, they had first to do the weeding and the reaping, and the threshing. Till, what with one job and another which they kept mentioning, 3 whole months passed by. After 3 months spent in the open air in discomfort, that brother had developed his theme for meditation, but could get no further. So, after the Pavarana festival which ends the rainy season, he went back again to the master, and, with due salutation, took his seat aside. After kindly words of greeting, the master said, "Well, brother, have you lived happily through the rainy season? Did your theme for meditation end in success?" The brother told him all that had happened, adding, "As I had no lodging to suit me, my theme did not end in success." Said the master, "In past times, brother, even animals knew what suited them and what did not. How is it that you did not know?" And so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva was born a bird and lived round a giant tree with big branches, at the head of a company of birds. Now one day, as the branches of this tree were grinding one against the other, dust began to fall, soon followed by smoke. When the Bodhisattva became aware of this, he thought to himself, "If these 2 branches go on grinding against one another like this, they will produce fire. And the fire will fall and catch hold of the old leaves, and so come to set fire to this tree as well. We cannot live on here. The proper thing to do is to move fast elsewhere." And he repeated this stanza to the company of birds. You inhabitants of air, that have found a lodging in these branches, notice the signs of fire starting in this earth-born tree. Seek safety in flight. Our trusted home now harbors death. The wiser birds who followed the Bodhisattva's advices, at once rose up in the air and went elsewhere in his company. But the foolish ones said, "It is always like this with him. He's always seeing crocodiles in a drop of water." And they, regarding not the Bodhisattva's words, stopped where they were. In a very short time, just as the Bodhisattva had foreseen, flames really did break out, and the tree caught fire. When the smoke and flame arose, the birds, blinded by the smoke, were unable to get away. One by one they dropped into the flames and were destroyed. Thus, brethren, said the master, in past times even animals who were living in the tree top, knew what suited them and what did not. How is it that you did not know? His lesson ended, he preached the truths, at the close of which that brother won the fruit of the first path. Also, the master explained the relation, and identified the birth by saying, the Buddha's disciples were then the birds who listened to the Bodhisattva, and I myself was the wise and good bird. JATAKA number. Titara JATAKA. For they who honor age. This story was told by the master while on his way to Shravasti city, about the way in which the elder monk Sariputra was kept out of a night's lodging. 4. When Anathapindika had built his monastery, and had sent word that it was finished, the master left Rajraha city and came to Vaishali city, setting out again on his journey after stopping at the latter place as per his liking. It was now that the disciples of the 6 hurried on ahead. And, before quarters could be taken for the elder monks, monopolized the whole of the available lodgings, which they distributed among their superiors, their teachers, and themselves. When the elder monks came up later, they could find no quarters at all for the night. Even Sariputra's disciples, for all their searching, could not find lodgings for the elder monk. Being without a lodging, the elder monk passed the night at the foot of a tree near the master's quarters, either walking up and down or sitting at the foot of a tree. At early dawn the master coughed as he came out. The elder monk coughed too. "Who is that?" asked the master. "It is I, Sariputra, sir." "What are you doing here at this hour, Sariputra?" Then the elder monk told his story, at the close of which the master thought, "Even now, while I am still alive, the brethren lack courtesy and subordination. What will they not do when I am dead and gone?" And the thought filled him with anxiety for the truth. As soon as day had come, he had the assembly of the brethren called together, and asked them, saying, "Is it true, brethren, as I hear, that the adherents of the six went on ahead and kept the elder monks among the brethren out of lodgings for the night?" "That is so, Lord Buddha," was the reply. Upon that, with a rebuke to the adherents of the six and as a lesson to all, he addressed the brethren, and said, "Tell me, who deserves the best lodging, the best water, and the best rice, brethren?" Some answered, "He who was a nobleman before he became a brother." Others said, "He who was originally a Brahmin, or a man of means." Others forcefully said, "The man versed in the rules of the order. The man who can teach the righteous path. The men who have won the first, second, third, or fourth stage of mystic ecstasy." While others again said, "The man in the first, second, or third path of nirvana, or an arhat. One who knows the three great truths. One who has the six higher knowledges." After the brethren had stated whom they critically thought worthiest of precedence in the matter of lodging and the like, the master said, "In the Dhamma which I teach, the standard by which precedence in the matter of lodging and the like is to be settled, is not noble birth, or having been a Brahmin, or having been wealthy before entry into the order. The standard is not familiarity with the rules of the order, with the suttas, or with the metaphysical books. Nor is it either the attainment of any of the four stages of mystic ecstasy, or the walking in any of the four paths of salvation. Brethren, in my path it is seniority which claims respect of word and deed, salutation, and all due service. It is seniors who should enjoy the best lodging, the best water, and the best rice. This is the true standard, and therefore the senior brother should have these things. Yet, brethren, here is Sariputra, who is my chief disciple, who has set rolling the wheel of minor truth, and who deserves to have a lodging next after myself. And Sariputra has spent this night without a lodging at the foot of a tree. If you lack respect and subordination even now, what will be your behavior as time goes by?" And for their further instruction he said, "In times past, brethren, even animals came to the conclusion that it was not proper for them to live without respect and subordination one to another, or without the ordering of their common life. Even these animals decided to find out which among them was the senior, and then to show him all forms of reverence. So they looked into the matter, and having found out which of them was the senior, they explained him all forms of reverence, by which they passed away at that life's close to people heaven." And so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time, hard by a great banyan tree on the slopes of the Himalayas, there lived three friends, a partridge bird, a monkey, and an elephant. And they came to lack respect and subordination one to another, and had no ordering of their common life. And the thought came to them that it was not seemly for them to live in this way, and that they should find out which of their number was the senior and to honor him. As they were engaged thinking which was the oldest, one day an idea struck them. Said the partridge bird and the monkey to the elephant as they all three sat together at the foot of that banyan tree, "Friend elephant, how big was this banyan when you remember it first?" Said the elephant, "When I was a baby, this banyan was a mere bush, over which I used to walk. And as I stood astride of it, its topmost branches used just to reach up to my belly. I've known the tree since it was a mere bush. Next the monkey was asked the same question by the other two. And he replied, my friends, when I was a youngling, I had only to stretch out my neck as I sat on the ground, and I could eat the topmost sprouts of this banyan. So I've known this banyan since it was very tiny. Then the partridge bird was asked the same question by the two others. And he said, friends, of old there was a great banyan tree at such and such a spot. I ate its seeds, and voided them here. That was the origin of this tree. Therefore, I have knowledge of this tree from before it was born, and am older than the pair of you. On this the monkey and the elephant said to the sage partridge bird, friend, you are the oldest. From now on you shall have from us acts of honor and veneration, marks of reverence and homage, respect of word and deed, salutation and all due acts of homages. And we will follow your advices. You for your part from now on will please impart such advice as we need. From then on the partridge bird gave them advice, and established them in the commandments, which he also undertook himself to keep. Being thus established in the commandments, and becoming respectful and subordinate among themselves, with proper ordering of their common life, these three made themselves sure of rebirth in heaven at this life's close. The aims of these three continued the master came to be known as the holiness of the partridge bird. And if these three animals, brethren, live together in respect and subordination, how can you, who have embraced a faith the rules of which are so well taught, live together without due respect and subordination? From now on I make rule, brethren, that to seniority shall be paid respect of word and deed, salutation and all due service. That seniority shall be the title to the best lodging, the best water, and the best rice. And never let a senior be kept out of a lodging by a junior. Whosoever so keeps out his senior commits an offense. It was at the close of this lesson that the master, as Buddha, repeated this stanza. For they who honor age, in truth are versed. Praise now, and bliss hereafter, is their wage. When the master had finished speaking of the virtue of reverencing age, he weighed the relation and identified the birth by saying, Moggallana was the elephant of those days, Saraputra the monkey, and I myself the sage partridge bird. JATAKA number. Baka JATAKA. Deceit profits not. This story was told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about a tailoring brother. Tradition says that at Jetavana monastery lived a brother who was exceedingly skillful in all operations to be performed with the robe, such as cutting, joining, arranging, and stitching. Because of this skill, he used to fashion robes and so got the name of the robe tailor. What, you ask, did he do? Well, he exercised his craft on old bits of cloth and turned out a nice soft robe, which, after the dyeing was done, he would enhance in color with a wash containing flour to make a dressing, and rub it with a shell, till he had made it quite smart and attractive. Then he would lay his handiwork aside. Being ignorant of robe making, brethren used to come to him with brand new cloth, saying, we don't know how to make robes. You make them for us. Sirs, he would reply, a robe takes a long time making. But I have one which is just finished. You can take that, if you will leave these cloths in exchange. And, so saying, he would take his out and show it to them. And they, noticing only its fine color, and knowing nothing of what it was made of, thought it was a good strong one, and so handed over their brand new cloth to the robe maker and went off with the robe he gave them. When it got dirty and was being washed in hot water, it revealed its real character, and the worn patches were visible here and there. Then the owners regretted their bargain. Everywhere that brother became well known for cheating in this way all who came to him. Now, there was a robe maker in a village who used to cheat everybody just as the brother did at Jetavana monastery. This man's friends among the brethren said to him, Sir, they say that at Jetavana monastery there is a robe maker who cheats everybody just like you. Then the thought struck him, come now, let me cheat that city man. So he made out of rags a very fine robe, which he dyed a beautiful orange. This he put on and went to JATAKA monastery. The moment the other saw it, he yearned to possess it, and said to its owner, "Sir, did you make that robe?" "Yes, I did, sir," was the reply. "Let me have that robe, sir. You'll get another in its place." "But, sir, we village brethren find it hard to get the required items. If I give you this, what shall I have to wear myself?" "Sir, I have some brand new cloth at my lodging. Take it and make yourself a robe." "Reverend sir, in this regard have I shown my own handiwork. But, if you speak thus, what can I do?" "Take it." And having cheated the other by exchanging the rag robe for the new cloth, he went his way. After wearing the botched robe in his turn, the JATAKA monastery man was washing it not long afterwards in warm water, when he became aware that it was made out of rags. And he was put to shame. The whole of the brotherhood heard the news that the JATAKA monastery man had been cheated by a robe tailor from the country. Now, one day the brethren were seated in the hall of truth, discussing the news, when the master entered and asked what they were discussing. And they told him all about it. Said the master, "Brethren, this is not the only occasion of the JATAKA monastery robe maker's cheating tricks. In past times also he did just the same, and, as he has been cheated now by the creatures from the country, so was he too in past times." And so saying, he told this story of the past. Once upon a time the Bodhisattva came to life in a certain forest haunt as the tree fairy of a tree which stood near a certain lotus pond. In those days the water used every summer to fall very low in a certain pond, not very big, which was plentifully stocked with fish. Catching sight of these fish, a certain crane said to himself, "I must find a way to persuade and eat these fish." So he went and sat down in deep thought by the side of the water. Now when the fishes caught sight of him, they said, "Of what are you thinking, my lord, as you sit there?" "I am thinking about you," was the reply. "And what is your lordship thinking about us?" "The water in this pool being low, food scarce, and, the heat intense, I was wondering to myself, as I sat here, what in the world you fishes would do." "And what are we to do, my lord?" "Well, if you'll take my advice, I will take you up one by one in my beak, and carry you all off to a fine large pool covered with the 5 varieties of lotuses, and there put you down." "My lord," said they, "no crane ever took the slightest thought for fishes since the world began. Your desire is to eat us one by one." "No. I will not eat you while you trust me," said the crane. "If you don't take my word that there is such a pond, send one of your number to go with me and see for himself." Believing the crane, the fish presented to him a great big fish, who they thought would be a match for the crane whether afloat or ashore. And they said, "Here's the one to go with you." The crane took the fish off and put him in the pool, and after showing him the whole extent of it, brought him back again and put him in along with the other fish in his old pond. And he held on to them on the charms of the new pool. After hearing this report, they grew eager to go there, and said to the crane, "Very good, my lord. Please take us across." First of all, the crane took that big one-eyed fish again and carried him off to the edge of the pool, so that he could see the water, but actually descended in a verena tree which grew on the bank. Dashing the fish down in a fork of the tree, he pecked it to death, after which he picked him clean and let the bones fall at the foot of the tree. Then back he went and said, "I've thrown him in. Who's the next?" And so he took the fish one by one, and ate them all, till at last when he came back, he could not find another left. But there was still a crab remaining in the pond. So the crane, who wanted to eat him up too, said, "Mr. Crab, I've taken all those fishes away and turned them into a fine large pool covered all over with lotuses. Come along. I'll take you too." "How will you carry me across?" said the crab. "Why, in my beak, to be sure," said the crane. "Ah, but you might drop me like that, said the crab. I won't go with you. Don't be frightened. I'll keep tight hold of you all the way. Thought the crab to himself, he hasn't put the fish in the pool. But, if he would really put me in, that would be capital. If he does not, why, I'll nip his head off and kill him. So he spoke thus to the crane, you'd never be able to hold me tight enough, friend crane. Whereas we crabs have got an astonishingly tight grip. If I might take hold of your neck with my claws, I could hold it tight and then would go along with you. Not suspecting that the crab wanted to trick him, the crane gave his consent. With his claws the crab gripped hold of the crane's neck as with the pincers of a smith, and said, now you can start. The crane took him and explained him the pool first, and then started off for the tree. The pool lies this way, nunky, said the crab. But you're taking me the other way. Very much your nunky dear am I? Said the crane. And very much my nephew are you. I suppose you thought me your slave to lift you up and carry you about? Just you put your eye on that heap of bones at the foot of the tree. As I ate up all those fish, so I will eat you too. Said the crab, it was through their own wrongdoing that those fish were eaten by you. But I shall not give you the chance of eating me. No. What I shall do, is to kill you. For you, fool that you were, did not see that I was tricking you. If we die, we will both die together. I'll chop your head clean off. And so saying he gripped the crane's weazand with his claws, as with pincers. With his mouth wide open, and tears streaming from his eyes, the crane, trembling for his life, said, Lord, indeed I will not eat you. Spare my life. Well, then, just step down to the pool and put me in, said the crab. Then the crane turned back and stepped down as directed to the pool, and placed the crab on the mud, at the water edge. But the crab, before entering the water, nipped off the crane's head as nicely as if he were cutting a lotus stalk with a knife. The tree fairy who lived in the tree, noticing this wonderful thing, made the whole forest ring with applause, repeating this stanza in sweet tones. Deceit profits not your very deceitful folk. See what the deceitful crane got from the crab. Brethren, said the master, this is not the first time this fellow has been cheated by the robe maker from the country. In the past he was cheated in just the same manner. His lesson ended. He explained the relation, and identified the birth, by saying, the JATAKA monastery robe maker was the crane of those days, the robe maker from the country was the crab, and I myself the tree fairy.